Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show. And are we ready to rumble? Because we are going to rumble in the jungle today. Um, we are looking at all kinds of stuff. I'm going to talk about Canada. We have a lot of things going on in Canada. Twitter, I want everybody to understand what's going on in Portland, Oregon. Son brought that to my attention today. So, Dad, you should take a look at Portland. That's what's going on in Portland. Portland's got some problems, and we have to better pay attention. And as Canadians, we better pay attention because what goes on down in the States, we follow right behind. We are America's number one. Remember that. Always number one. That means they're always going to be the first ones to be targeted for the experiment. And this is what's going on today. And Canada follows suit, except it's a little bit milder here in Canada because we got to see what's going to go on down in America. And once we see what's going down in America, then we continue to follow suit. Continue to just keeping on with whatever they're doing. We keep on following. It's just the nature of the way things go. It's just how Canada's always worked. We always follow the U.S. and so we better pay attention to what's going down in the land of the slave ruled by the depraved. Because Portland now is having some major issues, and the police and martial law, and they're doing all kinds of crazy things, bringing in robots and all this stuff. This is a prototype area. So if you go on the Twitter channel, there'll be a Twitter link there where you can see how they have been fighting, apparently because the police haven't been doing their job protecting the city. So they decided that they had a march or whatever. And you know what's interesting behind this? This is what is crazy behind this. The police have moved in. Okay, they have moved in, stating that these are terrorists. These are terrorists, and we got to do something about the terrorists. Oh, something has to be done. Oh, the terrorists. Oh my God, the terrorists, and oh, geez, terrorists. Well, what the hell? What about Antifa taking over Toronto? What do you call that? What do you call that? Aren't those terrorists that have moved into Queen's Park and have parked their tents around the area? Is that going to be the next Portland, Oregon? Where they're going to bring in martial law and police, and they're going to be bashing heads and people and beating them up. And everyone's going to say, oh, racism, oh, geez, we got racism, oh, look at the police, look what they've done, oh. But I mean, if protesters who actually live in the city of Portland are protesting because something's wrong with the city or something's wrong with whatever's going on there, and they're bringing in feds and federal troops and police are pulling. I mean, you'll see one Twitter there. I mean, it's unfreaking real. Guy's riding a bike, and some cop shouts at him. He turns one way, and another cop co-cocks him with a baton. Like, really? The guy's riding his bike, and he's getting beat up by the police? See, this is the problem. We're defunding the police, and the police are not helping their cause. They are really not helping their cause. By acting violently and stupidly. A guy's riding a bike through a war zone, and all he's trying to do is go from point A to point B to get the hell out of the area, and then you beat his head in with a baton? I mean, seriously? Yeah, this is... So there is some argument for police brutality and stupidity. Now, mind you, these were federal troops that came in, but what business? I mean, this is crazy. Now, something happened in Ontario, Canada. Oh, Canada. Minden, Ontario. Guy was in the store. Didn't wear a mask. People gave him a hard time. He told an FRO. Don't know what that means? Ask a fellow Canadian. They'll explain it to you. Walked out, went home. The police followed this guy. When he got home, the cops shot him. Now, this sounds like an assassination to me. Guy had no gun. His guns were locked up in his house. And they shot him. Why did they shoot him? Because he didn't wear a mask? Because he told the stores, the FRO? Maybe he told them, the FRO? They had no business shooting him, but they did. This is why I say every Ontarian, every Canadian should have a gun. And they should be able to carry it. This shit wouldn't happen. I assure you. The police would keep their distance. The only reason why the police would show up at the door is to collect the dead body and bury it. Other than that, they wouldn't be there. Now, this may sound harsh and cruel, and this may sound, kind of violent, but it ain't violent. It's not violent at all. I'm not saying I want to go shoot every police officer. I don't want to do that either. I don't want to shoot anybody, really. I have no intention of wanting to shoot anybody. But if that's going to be the deterrent from a police officer going rogue, I think it's a good idea to carry one. And I think every car should have cameras, 3 of them, front, back, and side. So if a police officer does pull you over, now you've got him on film. This way they can't take you out of the range of the camera and beat the shit out of you on the side of the road. This is incredible. And I'm not saying this is all the police force, but this is what is being perpetrated by the media. And the trust factor for police, if it gets to a certain depth, a certain low, okay, I grew up in Detroit, and I got to tell you, the 60s were not a lot of fun. The 70s were even less fun. Tell you a true story. There used to be a police division in Detroit called the Big Four. 4 big cops, about 6'2", 6'4", 240 pounds of mean, and I mean mean. And they had basically autonomous power, meaning there was no check and balance. So they drove around the neighborhood, and when you saw them coming, you kind of got out of their way, or you left, because you didn't know what could happen. This incident happened to somebody I knew in the neighborhood. Just because he was talking to he was a colored fellow, talking to a light skin toned woman, just because they were just having a talk, they were friends, they stopped, pounded the hell out of this guy. He lost his front teeth because of what they did. And this created a dynamic in the neighborhood where if the police came, everybody got behind windows and doors. And a lot of times they had firearms, just in case something would happen. And this will be perpetrated again, even here in Canada. Some of the places in major metropolitan areas are rough to begin with, and when a police officer shows up, if they show up with the intent of doing violence, it could be a firefight. And what this will do eventually is this will remove the police force out of the equation. And now you'll have drones, flying drones, or drones that will walk on the sidewalk that might be heavily armed. And they will just go into neighborhoods and, according to whatever AI programming they have, can terminate those neighborhoods. They've already used these drones in the military. They've got jeeps and trucks that are fully armed with all kinds of weaponry, will drive into communities and cities, and will target their targets and wipe them out and obliterate them. This will come. This will eventually be here if it's not already in motion. So like I said, we have to start thinking in these terms. This is not science fiction anymore. Not science fiction anymore. When we talked about the other day, and I can put the Wizard of Oz on the DNA code, and I can implement that into somebody, we're no longer talking, something science fiction. Now imagine if you take the same DNA strand and put it into a machine and program it to kill. AI already knows how to kill. It's very efficient and very thorough in the way it does its killing. The military has already used this type of technology. They will bring this into the major cities and areas, probably try them out in some rural area first in Canada. This way if they kill 100 people, 200 people, nobody's going to know about it. Probably the reserves would be the ideal place where they'll test this stuff. Because hell, if you wipe out a couple hundred Indians, who's going to know? Who's going to care? Tribe got wiped out, must have been COVID. COVID killed them. COVID killed a reserve in northern Ontario. We don't know how COVID got there, but COVID killed them. That could happen. That could happen. I'm not trying to put anxiety on anybody either, or fear. This is just basic common sense today. If you're not following the technology and the AI and the weaponry they're using today and the sophistication they have, you're really not caught up. You're not caught up at all. So when you're seeing violence like that in Portland, wait till you go on that Twitter channel. You're gonna like what? This is supposedly America? America, land of slaves, ruled by the depraved. It's what it is. Not a free country, never was. Freedom was another word for nothing left to lose. Remember that? Janis Joplin said that. Freedom is not another word for nothing left to lose. And pretty well, everything's getting lost. We're talking about elections. A friend of mine contacts me because she says, well, I know you're not a Trump fan. I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not a Biden fan. I think Trump's going to win hands down. I'll tell you why. Biden's got Alzheimer's. The dumbass can't even string a sentence together. If he has a debate with Trump, this would be a battle of the senior citizens. Trump's got his mental faculties in place. Biden doesn't know how to do anything except smile. See me, I'm smiling. Democrats got a lemon out of that one. But nothing's going to change, not even with Trump. Everyone's talking about all the things that are going on in the world. I don't see any documentation to validate anything that's being said or done, if anything's being done at all. And all I'm seeing is the United States is caving in from the inside out. It's crumbling. When its own law enforcement officials are assaulting and attacking, and this is the other thing too. If those protesters had been of a different color, a different ethnical culture, a different belief system, nothing would have happened. And some of you are saying, is that because, I'm pro-white? I'm not pro-anything. I'm pro-fact. I'll validate this real simply. When that Floyd matter happened, what happened? All the people in different cities and communities decided to riot in their areas. Where was the National Guard? Where was the federal police to stop that rioting from the inner city, destroying the inner city where people in the inner city had built those businesses to sustain and support the people in the inner city? They were destroyed. Sounds to me like a game plan. Wipe out those businesses so Walmart and Costco and some of the other major box stores now will benefit more because now they don't have the competition eating at their profit margin. Maybe perhaps Walmart and Costco and Sam's paid somebody to do this. Who knows? Speculation is what I'm saying there. It's all speculation. Who knows that maybe Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or some of these other social media channels help pay for some of this, because now all their advertisement that they're paying for, that are paying them to advertise, will now be the only one left standing. We're going toward that one world bullshit. Now, instead of being able to go to a free marketplace and be able to buy your stuff from any merchant and competition to keep the prices down, now you destroyed the competition, especially in the inner cities, because people in the inner cities can't get out to go shopping at some of these Costco's and other places because they're too far away and there's no bus system. So they were the perfect match for the environment. Get wiped out. Where was the law enforcement then? Where were they? Why didn't they stop the violence? Why didn't they stop the destruction of these areas? Why didn't they just stop the destruction of the downtown? Yet you got protesters that are not damaging anything. You bring in the militia to wipe them out? Holy jeez. Woo! Talk about a double standard. Talk about hypocrisy. Who's running the show? What's running the show? And Canadians and Canada, I'm going to say this straight out, don't think what you see going down in America won't happen here. It's already starting to happen in small bits and bites. We got Antifa in Queen's Park, and I hear they're in other parts of the country as well. This is a rogue group parked in front of our capitals or our cities. These would be considered a terrorist movement any other time. So where are the law officials removing this debris from these areas? Something is about to happen in Canada. These are already and set in place so that when the time comes, if they decide to pull the trigger, they will react. Now, generally speaking, Canadians of all colors and persuasions and all belief systems are pretty civil for the most part. You get the odd asshole, but you got that anywhere. But generally speaking, we're pretty civil with each other, and we really don't care about, color or race or anything like that. Heck, we get along with each other pretty well. Go to different ethnic restaurants, we eat different ethnic foods, we check out different ethnic things, we do a comparison of different artistic things that we hold valuable. Talking about the men here, generally speaking, we get along pretty good. Again, you get the odd asshole that doesn't, but that's the odd one. And you get people who are isolated here and segregated. You got that everywhere. Canada's no different. We got segregation here. We got the problems we have in Canada are just like the problems in the United States, except they're about 1/10 of the degree. In other words, the intensity of the problems are not as bad as they are in the States, because in the U.S. they propagate these problems. They make these problems become manifest. They instigate this shit. A couple of weeks ago, you got a colored fellow being killed by 4 police officers, and they go nuts and berserk down there because the media propagated this. Now we got this shit going on in Portland, and nobody's hearing about it. How come? Why isn't that being spread out? See, this is a double standard. It's the same thing going on with this COVID. This COVID is all bullshit, all of it. I've been saying bullshit since day one, 6 months ago. I said it was bullshit. I haven't changed my mind. And more and more scientists have come out and said the same thing since then. I was listening to Mr. Galati on the YouTube channel. He's being interviewed. And by the way, help this guy out. There's a donation link. There's a video that I got the interview on there, and he talks about what's going on. Talks about all this bullshit too. But the COVID was nothing but a scam. And I heard today, and I have no evidence of this fact, but I heard today something was sent to me that the municipalities in Ontario, for sure, from as far east as you go, down as far southwest in Windsor, the municipalities were paid by these companies to propagate these masks. Imagine that. Imagine that. Our politicians being above and beyond being, having their palms greased. Being paid under the table. Oh, they wouldn't do that. Just to propagate a mask agenda so they can make money. And I said that a couple shows ago. The only ones that were profiting from this whole situation were the ministers of Canada, the Parliament, and so forth and so on. And then Mr. Galati was saying that he had read somewhere that the mayor of Mississauga got together with the mayors of the Greater Toronto Area, and Bill Gates was sitting at the meeting. I wonder how much they all got for the bullshit they're doing in their cities. what I forget the term that we use. Bribe. How much they were bribed. And I think they need to be investigated just to make sure that bribe didn't happen. And we need officers that can go beyond the call of being bribed to do the proper investigation. Because if this is the case, we are in serious shit in Ontario. We don't have ethical leaders or moral leaders any longer. And we can't believe anything that they're saying. Now, in the lawsuit, Essex County is part of that lawsuit. Because we were made to wear these bloody masks for no frickin' reason. Zero. Nada. But like that guy in Kingsville that drove truck, I can't say what I call him when I'm not on the air. Let me put this way. It's referencing to a woman's anatomy. What I call this guy. Seriously, he goes down and comes back crying like a little baby. Oh, Americans aren't wearing a mask. Oh my gosh, they're not taking it seriously. Oh, I don't want to drive down there anymore. Oh. Little baby. Well, like I said, I'd call him something else, but it's not proper English, or it's very salty to use English, that's what it is, but not very proper. But, this is, the powers of observation, completely gone. Completely gone. The guy's an idiot, no brain, big brawn, no brain, stupid, probably got the IQ of a gnat, and that's insulting the gnats, I know. Looks around, nobody's wearing a mask and nobody's dropping dead. Now, how in the bloody blazes can you not make that connection? And then there was another couple saying, they drove through Texas and California. They weren't wearing masks either. Oh my gosh, they weren't taking it serious. I couldn't take these guys serious. Honest to God, geez, you've got to be kidding me. I told you before, I drove truck for 11 years ago. I drove in parts of Detroit and Chicago that you needed a bulletproof vest. You needed some heavy-duty armory, and you needed some heavy-duty artillery. It was like driving down Beirut during the Israeli attack. Some of those places. They were rough, very rough. Basically, you bore it. You bit, and you just grit and bear it. Well, look, I'm going to die one day anyway. It's only when God decides I die, so I just decided I'll just let's go, get it done. That's my job. I'll go do my stuff, drop a load, pick one up, and come back home. If I get shot, of course, so I'm done. That's it. I'm going home. And no point in me. There's nothing to stick around here for anyway. So that's how I looked at it. There ain't nothing here. This is just a shithole. That's all this is. So, but anyway. But this is the brainwashing they've got, and this is what they've been doing. And even the lawsuits against the CBC in Canada, because that is paid by our taxes, and those bastards, and they are bastards, every effing one of them, shouldn't be having a job, because they did not allow for dual access so that both sides could have spoken. But CBC is controlled by a Zionist group, I am sure, just like all the other networks in Canada. And that's not being anti-Semitic. That's the way it is. Actually, I forgot to look up a verse. There's a verse, I believe, in Revelations 2. Me and a buddy of mine were talking Bible stuff yesterday, and he was showing me let me see if I can find it while I'm talking. It was a good verse, really. And it talks about the distinction between Christians and Hebrews, and it talks about how some of them will pretend to be I think it's Revelations 2. Let me see if I can find it. I wanted to have it up for tonight's show because we got this thing about Christian Judaic nonsense. That's virtually impossible. You can't have both. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Here you go. Yeah, I think it's Revelations 2:9. We were talking about this. He says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. This is talking about the difference between Zionists and Jews or Hebrews. Okay? Okay, this is basically just showing you the distinction. I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Those are Zionists. That's what this is referring to. There was another verse, but I forget where he showed it to me. You know, and that's in Revelations 2:9. So anyway, so those of you who say that you have your Christian Judaic principles, that doesn't exist. Either you're with Jesus or you're with whatever, and you're under a new covenant or you're under the old. If you're under the old, then you're damned. That's the way it works. If the old covenant actually worked, Jesus would not have had to come down here and get whipped to death, get hung on a tree, and die. They basically beat him to death before he even got on the cross. So you're a one or the other. So when I say there's a distinction between Zionists and Hebrews, that's what I'm talking about. When I say Zionists control the media in Canada, I'm not talking about the Hebrews. I'm not talking about Israelis. I'm not talking about Israelites. I'm talking about Zionists. That's who runs the show here, as far as the media goes. That's why we can't get a proper balance in the media here in Canada, because of who owns what. If we could get a true balance, this COVID shit would never have got off the ground 6 months ago. Galati is talking about there's 47 centers in the world that never did the masking, never did the social distancing, and had absolutely no problem whatsoever, had the same amount of problems as far as people dying, and the only difference was they didn't crash their economy. Japan, Sweden, some of the Baltic countries, they just didn't go with it. Here we are in Canada, and our own government is destroying the economy here over a fakery. Where is Tam Tam the scam? Oh, she left. She left because, she's gotten sued. Tam Tam the scam. Where's the health minister of Ontario? Oh, he left too. All of a sudden he took sick. He ain't coming back because he got sued. And you know, the Essex County, the guy in Windsor, this Ahmed fellow, whatever his last name is, he might be getting sued. Imagine that. He might be getting sued. Dun, 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 dun. It's an old theme we used to use years ago. So, I'm telling you right off the bat that we are looking at some of the dumbest things going on. And again, and you know what? I'll tell you where they hit in Canada. I'll tell you where they hit the hardest, where people have become the dumbest, are out in the rural areas. Essex County, where we are at right now, I'm hearing stories from Kingsville how the F-tardery that's going on there, they're so F-tarded, it's not even funny. They are so blind to what's really going on. I'm hearing that's going on maybe in Leamington as well, and some of the other rural communities out there. These people need to give their head a shake. See, the problem with those rural communities, they get into what I call the kindergarten clique. 4-year-old kindergarten clique. If one person says something and they get all worked up over it and they get all afraid over it, then they all follow it. And it's like going to a horror movie. You got to get that sensation of being terrorized so that you can feel something. So they get all worked up in this terror. And they're all caught up in this pandemonium, and and then next thing you know, nobody says anything different because you won't fit in. You won't be a part of the group. They'll ostracize you. They'll kick you out. They'll whatever. This is what happens. He what's it go? Can't think of it right off the bat, but. Yeah, we got to start thinking in these terms of what's going on. And the one thing we can't afford to do is be in a cliquish mentality. Can't be in this clique mentality. If they're all wrong and you're right, stand up for that. Don't be complicit. I've got on my window, when you walk into my store, the exemption rules, and he made a point, and I'm going to point this out for those of us in Canada, okay? Because again, for those F-tards out in the county who don't know how to read, maybe if they hear the show, maybe they'll get it. I don't know. Hopefully. But according to Galati, the law states you have a masking thing, but it also states there's an exemption part of this. And if these stores and communities are not telling you that part of it, they're breaking the law, or they're breaking the mandate, I should say. So then you should be able to take them to the Human Resources or Human Rights Commission. Now, he also said that the human rights, which is another joke, okay, human rights. They're not listening to some of these things. They too should be sued for not doing their job. See, this is what I'm saying. The media is full of shite. Full of shite. This is why you never believe the media, because they don't tell you the whole truth. They barely tell you the truth. Oh, COVID's going to kill you. COVID, you're going to die. You're going to die. We got a special test now for COVID. They ain't got no test. They're testing for pneumonia. That doesn't mean you got COVID. It means you got pneumonia. But you know what? The television, the gospel according to television, will tell you what you need to believe. And you better believe it, because we told you. The gospel according to television. This is what we're dealing with. I had somebody write me an email today. So I'm not getting this COVID thing. I'm kind of confused. And I said, what the hell are you confused about? It doesn't exist. There's no evidence of the fact that it does exist. But see, this is what's going on. I got to point this out. You keep hearing the bullshit over and over and over and over again, and eventually it starts to wear you down. And that's what they're counting on. You believing in the bullshit. You caving in. You converting to the bullshit. You are going to convert to the gospel according to television. Yes, the gospel according to television. We're looking for converts just like you. We know you're a hard-ass hard case, but we know if we bullshit you long enough, you will convert. Get on your knees. Pray to the God of television, because we are looking for you. Put on your mask. Bow down to Baal. Bow down to Moloch. Before you know it, we'll be taking your firstborn, and we'll be sacrificing them too. But follow the gospel according to television. That's where it's heading. That's where you'll all be. We'll all be back in the days. We'll be sacrificing to false gods, throwing our firstborn into a fiery pit, and you won't think twice about it. You'll think it's normal to sacrifice your genetic code to a demonic entity. You won't think a second-hand thing about it. Because if you can't stand up to this bullshit, you sure as hell ain't going to be able to stand up to that bullshit. That would be far more sophisticated, far more dangerous, and by that time they will probably implement technology into your head, making you believe that that is God. Moloch and Baal are God, and you will follow Moloch and Baal according to the gospel of television. I hope I'm dead and gone home to the real God, to the living God, not this bullshit. That's what it is, bullshit. And until you wake up to that reality, and until you quit following all this horse shit, and you're never going to figure it out. Ever. Ever. You'll keep going in circles. You'll keep asking the same questions. Why am I here? What's the purpose to my life? Why? And then you'll keep on trying all this horse shit, and it ain't going to take you anywhere. You're not going to be any further ahead. And in fact, you'll lose all hope. That's the way. That's why I tell you all the time. Read the Gospels. Read the Gospels of what Jesus had to say. He's the only king that ever gave a shit about us. I keep telling you that all the time. He left his throne, come down here, got the whooping of a lifetime, hung him on a cross, and then he died, but he came back. I don't know anybody else that did that. I don't know anybody else that came down here and took a beating for us like he did. I don't know anybody else that came down here and took all that bullshit just so that he could save us. Really? He didn't need to do that. So this is why I direct everybody to the gospel. That to me took brass tacks. Not only did it take, I mean, love will take you to a point, but I mean, to courage to face that, he knew what was coming. The script was already written in the Bible, what was going to happen to him. Hanging on the cross in Psalms and Isaiah 53, you know. The script was already done. He knew what was coming. Matter of fact, he even prayed if it was possible to take the burden off his shoulders. But he said, not his will, God's will. I mean, that took something. Holy jumping. When you sit there and analyze that, that took something. You know. So this is why I tell y'all to go read the Gospels. You know, go read the Gospel. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but just at least read them if you have never read them. So at least you can see what's going on. And then when you get educated, now go back to the Old Testament and see what the Hebrews did with their god Baal and god Moloch, and how they were throwing their babies into a fiery pit because they did this. I couldn't figure out for the longest time. I'm going to change switch the road here a little bit. Switch the track. For the longest time, I had a hard time trying to figure out how the Hebrews could be so stupid. I mean, here they are trapped for 300 years in slavery. And Moses comes along. God sends Moses to them. Does all kinds of signs and wonders. 3 days of darkness, blood in the waters, and everywhere. Firstborn dying of the Egyptians, frogs and fleas, and 3 days of darkness, and the whole enchilada, and the enchilada of them all. The enchilada of them all. Parts the Red Sea, and they walk through it. Get to the other side. Moses tells Aaron, watch over these dumb bastards. I'm going to have a one-on-one with the Great One. So, and they were dumb bastards. They were dumb bastards, all of them. So now Moses is with God. He's glowing. He's coming back. He's got God energy flowing through him, boy. He's just glowing. And Aaron builds because they say, Aaron, build us a golden cow so we can bow down and worship. I mean, are you effing kidding me? Bow down to a golden cow, a statue? God sends Moses back. You better go back because I'm about ready to kill those bastards. So he goes back. I'm kind of paraphrasing this. I'm speaking the salted earth, so this ain't how the Bible puts it, but this is the way I'm putting it. Moses goes back. He says, what the bloody hell are you doing? Well, he probably didn't say that at the time. Probably said something else. Because he was a man of unclean lips, so I could imagine what he was saying. What the are you doing there? He was speaking Canadian. Probably use the FRO term a lot. Are you kidding me? What the FRO? What are you doing here? Anyway, he breaks the tablets on that cow. So I thought to myself, how could they be so effing stupid? But then I look at today. All the shit that God has given us and what he's shown us. All of it. And we have allowed ourselves, not us, not me, and not people who are awake, but the general populations have allowed themselves to believe this bullshit. After everything that's been done, America and Canada have been given so much. We have been given so much. And here we are, being F-tards, ready to follow Moloch and Baal. Because our leaders are Masonic or whatever the hell they are. Evil, just evil. And then you got these TV evangelicals. They're also Masonic, most of them, and they're bullshit. And people are following that horse shit. So I'm just telling it the way it is. We are no different. My buddy and I were talking, and we said, you know what? All this evolution, all this modifications and modernizations, nothing has changed. Not a frickin' thing has changed. And the third generation, he knows the same thing I've been saying. By the third generation, we've got a bunch of numbskulls. Stupid. They have forgotten everything. Every frickin' thing. And Jesus came back down here to save us? Really? Boy, talk about love being blind sometimes, This is it may sound like a rant, this may sound like a rave, but you know what? if you do the comparisons of what happened to those Hebrews through their evolution and their growth to become a nation, and you see that, and they did the same stupid shit we're doing today. Nothing's changed. Not a damn thing's changed. The only difference is now we have a hope through Christ. That's the difference. Now, some of you may not believe that. That's fine. I ain't gonna argue with you. If that's what you want to believe. You believe what you want to believe. That's why I say at least read the Gospels, because you might see that hope that I'm talking about. If you don't see it, you don't see it. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. But like I keep telling everybody, you owe it to yourself to read it. You know, I mean, think about it. Yeah, the cycle is never going to end here. And if it does end, it'll only end in fire. It's a shithole. It's nothing but a shithole. The only difference between the shithole we had back today and the shithole they had back then is the channels of the dial have become prettier. That's all. Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 9 are the same channels that have always been around. The only difference is that the stage that's been set is prettier, more colorful, and now we have an artificial intelligence that's beaming out frequencies into your head so that you can now be in a continuous loop of being programmed by stupid. That's the only difference. That's the difference today as opposed to yesteryear. You know, we are no longer in a place and time where we can say that we are we've evolved, that we're any smarter. We're not. We're about as, like I said, dumb as a bag of rocks, you know. And it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. Nothing's changed, you know. So, you know, now we're in the fight for our lives, because for so many decades we've allowed the complicity to continue. You know, we're looking at the atrocities in America, donations. I got that already. I hit over the mask. There's a formula in here as well for fortifying the respiratory system against nano infections. What you're going to do is you're going to take pour into a glass container of 1 ounce increments when using iodine. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait, that's when you're done. Hold on, what happened here? What happened? Oh, here. Formula. Oh, I got this in the wrong spot. That's what happened. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, this formula, you're going to take retinol palmitate. You're going to take CQ10 powder, 5 grams of the retinol palmitate, 1 gram of CQ10, 2 grams of vitamin E powder, and add them to a jar. Add 3 ounces of either vodka, brandy, grappa, or Everclear, or even gin, if you want. Something clear base. Put in the blender. Or put a blender lid on your jar if you have the mason jars. If not, put it in your blender. Lid it or put the blade on your jar. Blend it till everything's dissolved. Then add 3 to 5 ounces of MCT oil, or any other oil will work. Do not use any omega-3 based oils. Add either BHC or rosemary essential oil with this, and then blend till they're fused. And when done, pour into a glass container and use a 1 ounce increment. And then when using, add iodine and some turpentine-based essential oils like fir, Siberian fir, balsam fir, pine, Scots pine, thuja, spruce. Any one of these, use 1 to 3 drops in the 1 ounce serving with iodine, 1 to 10 drops, and do these every 3 hours and 1 before bed. And you may find that that coughing hack that you have will disperse a lot faster. Try to get at least 1 night or 2 nights, 6 to 8 hours sleep. If you can't get it all the way through, then take a nap during the day and take the solution before you take the nap. You may find that this may help in alleviating and breaking up the nano assault on your respiratory system. Alrighty, I always mention on my website, on the site, there are people there that are active and trying to get the word out to everybody. So again, check them out, support them any way you can. You got Brian, you got Yanni, you got Shai, you got Sherry at 3 Churches, you got myself. So help anybody out any way you can financially. If not, share their information, spread it out, spread the word around. Alrighty, and I just mentioned about reading the Gospels, according to read what Jesus had to say, and go from there. Find some solutions. Be aware. Don't allow yourself to be propagated by the media. Don't follow the religion of the television. The gospel according to television, because it's not a gospel. It's not good news at all. It's a deception. And if you know something's bullshit, don't allow yourself to be convinced otherwise. Alrighty, and I'm going to let you go with that tone till the next, and don't, before I forget, because I always sometimes forget. By the grace of God, we are still here. Remember that. We're still here. So while we're here, let's make a difference. Alrighty. See you at the next show. Take care.